Hi, and welcome to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today. And a special thank you to TrainSmart Australia for having me here today. What a great company to be associated with. David Bunney is my name, author of Success Leaves a Trail. Look, I know we're all very busy people, I get that. But what we're going to discuss today, I promise, is going to make such a huge difference in your progress of achieving goals or perhaps even starting a business. You see, we're going to talk about a system. We call it SOS, a system of success. And as you know, systems are designed to work. And so as we go through, we'll be talking about a three-part system called mindset, mechanics, mentors. But we're going to transfer to a computer screen a little bit later so you can have a clear view of exactly what we're going to discuss. As we go through, we're going to be challenging your thinking a little bit, and we'll be asking lots and lots of questions. So I encourage you to take some notes so that you can come back to the questions a little bit later when you've got some more time to reflect on them. It's a three-part system of mindset, mechanics, mentors. And the reason it works so well is because it forces you to look at the mindset first before you need the how-to. You see, if you don't know the objectives you're trying to achieve, or the type of business, or why you're trying to develop a business, all the information in the world is not going to be much use to you for moving on. So take some notes, have a clear mind, and we'll move over to the computer screen and let's get started. Okay, so now that we've transferred to the computer, you should be able to see our presentation clearly on screen. And again, I thank TrainSmart for this opportunity. So there earlier we mentioned mindset, mechanics, mentors as being the system. And that's the three sections that we'll be reviewing in this session. And first of all, we start off with mindset, and we have an acronym for each section to help you remember. And of course the acronym for mindset is OPEN. You must have an open mindset before you do anything. The mechanics, we use the word gears because gears is exactly that. It speeds up the process. And mentors, well, guided is about the word that clearly describes the benefit of having mentors. Be guided. So mindset, mechanics, mentors, have an open mindset, get the gears and be guided by the mentors. So before you have that big idea and you want to launch straight into the how-to information, you really need to be considering some of your objectives. And yet I see so often people just want to get into business, open the front door and say, come on, let's just get started here. And they miss the foundations that they need in the first place. So let's have a look at O for objectives. And let me ask you a question first up. What does success actually mean to you? Have you ever considered it? You probably haven't really, because it means different things to different people. You know, you talk about lifestyle goals. Well, you know, what does that actually mean? Have you considered it? This is the trick question here. How much money would actually make a difference in your life at the moment? Is it a lot or a little? Now, I don't mean success is all to do with money, far from it. But unless you had some idea of how much money, that may have an influence on the type of business that you would start. You know, it might be a hobby business or it might be a multi-million-dollar franchise business. But you need to consider a little bit how much money would make a difference in your life. Another important question is your motivation. You see, we only do what is important to us. So we get out of bed in the morning and we're energized by the things we enjoy doing, and that creates your self-motivation. Balance, clarity and purpose. I know they're three words that gets used so often, but have you really considered it? And very shortly I'll show you a couple of ways we can maybe at least get some balance in our life. And the objectives. A lot of people talk about setting goals, but they don't understand the difference between objectives and goals. You see, goals are the long-term aims that you're trying to accomplish, where the objectives are the little concrete attainments by the dictionary meaning, but the little steps that you need to take that are measurable, that then ultimately achieves your goals in the long run. Passion. Have a look at your passion. What do you enjoy doing? What's your hobby? Do you have a passion? Then try and match your work style with what you enjoy doing. For instance, are you an outdoors type of person? Do you enjoy, fresh air and sunshine or the weekend? Or do you enjoy indoors? Manual or mental? Now, manual might be suitable for a tradesman. And there's a lot of self-satisfaction in completing something, whether you're building a fence or you're building a house or you're working with your hands. There's a lot of satisfaction in that. Equally, mental on the computer, working out spreadsheets, maybe doing accounting. Some people enjoy that. Are you a people person? Let's be truthful, some people are not. Some people enjoy working by themselves. They might be creative, they might be artists or talented in some area where they just enjoy their own company. A systemised or creative. Now when we talk about systemised, I mean perhaps franchise. Now I've worked with a lot of franchise owners that have been very, very successful. Other franchise owners haven't been. And what I've noticed is that there are certain backgrounds or personality traits that leads towards a systemised business better than others. For example, ex-airline pilots make great franchise owners because SES or service personnel, anyone who understands following a procedure. Whereas the entrepreneurial type of personality who wants to make the better hamburger or the better sauce or something may not be quite as well matched towards a systemised business. Although if you are building your own business, the ultimate goal is certainly to systemise it, but perhaps into your system that suits you. What are some of your strengths and particular skills? Have you ever done one of those strengths and weakness tests? You know, it's always so easy to get on the left-hand side, the strengths, and you make a long list. And then it comes to the weaknesses. And it's always, for some reason, seems to be a lot shorter than your strengths. Work on that and try and identify some of your particular skills. You know, we all have skills in some areas, but if you can measure it and really clearly identify it, it's going to help you when you move on towards building a business. Are you entrepreneurial or do you prefer systems? Well, we spoke about that a little bit earlier in franchise. You know, some entrepreneurial spirits can be great, whereas sometimes working with a preferred system can equally achieve great results. So here's another action step. List an activity that you'd enjoy developing a business from. The reason that's so important is because if you're going to be in business, you may as well enjoy it. You know, it's going to take some time. So try and identify what activity you would enjoy the most. Let's move on. Expand your thinking. Develop the ability to view things differently. Now that can be a challenge for some people because they might have the mindset, well, this is the way we've always done it. You've had old habits. Can you replace them with some new ones? You know, that could be as simple as if you go walking in the morning, walk around the park the opposite direction or drive to work in a different format. Just try hard to do things differently or perhaps view things differently. Because when you're building a business, usually you need some products or services that can solve a solution or at least offer a benefit. So then on your market research later, have a look at how you could deliver some of those products or services a little bit differently or a little bit better than currently in the marketplace. And challenge your current beliefs and your values and your routines and make sure that they are congruent with your overall direction. Are they serving you? Perhaps you're doing things every day that you don't really know why you do them, you've just done them for so long. Challenge that. Just have a close look at it. Are they congruent with your direction? Are they serving you? So here's another action step. Practice viewing situations from a different perspective. And that doesn't mean standing on your head and looking at something, but it certainly does mean just taking the time out to, okay, let's have a look at things differently. Okay, so moving on to the last letter of OPEN, new learning. Let me open your mind to CTS. First of all, you may already be using NTS, and that's note to self. You know the little yellow sticker pads, and you write NTS, don't forget the milk, or don't forget to pick up the children from school. They're great. Notes to self are great. What I'm referring to here is CTS. That's when you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to accept some new learning or get better at something. And you can still use the little yellow sticker pads, but put them in a place where you can see them really, very often through the day. Might be next to your computer or on your screen or in the bathroom, anywhere, on the dashboard of your motor car. And how it works is that you make a commitment that you're going to get better at something. It might be grammar or spelling or people skills, and you take the time out every day to practice a little tiny bit. It might be, say for instance, spelling. And I know we're always busy, but why not just take 1 or 2 minutes to check the spelling of something, or to check the correct use of the grammar that gets used. And what you'll find over a period of maybe 2 or 3 months, that you will build up an enormous bank of information, and you'll actually learn that new thing that you promised yourself you would. Practice increased confidence. Now, I understand that some people have a challenge with confidence, but you can get better at it, and there's lots of help out there. The first thing that you can do is understand that confidence comes from doing and maybe repeating and repetitious. Can you remember when you were learning to ride a push bike? And you fell off quite a few times? Yeah, but you got back on. And it wasn't too long after practicing for a while that you're speeding down the hill saying, "Hey, look, Mum, no hands." You practice, and with more practice, your confidence level increases. Now, there is a second way that you can increase the confidence, and that is by looking at what a confident person actually does. How do they stand? What's their posture like? How does a confident person speak? Have a look in your workplace, around maybe it's your supervisor, and just take note of how they walk, their body language and their speech. Now, I don't for 1 minute say try and become another person, please. We are absolutely unique and treasure the fact that you are unique. But you can certainly have a look at the style of what a confident person acts and behaves, and you can mimic how their voice is or how their behavior is, and that will also increase your confidence. Set up a personal success library of information. Now, I know for a fact that every successful person has a very large success library of their own. Do you have one? Have you set up one where when you get that email and say, "Oh, wow, that is a really good, useful piece of information. Now, where am I going to put it?" If you've set up a good filing system, and it doesn't have to be electronic, it can be normal paper, you might find different articles that are really useful to your growth and your personal development. Have a place already set up and call it your success library where you can put this information. And most of all, what new learning can be implemented from lessons learnt? I tell people myself, in fact I was interviewed recently and they said, "So David, what makes you the authority on starting business?" And I said to the interviewer very quickly, I said, "You know what? I've had the privilege of making more mistakes than most other people." The interviewer didn't know whether I was serious or not, but I was deadly serious. The fact that you can learn from the mistakes that you've made. but record them. Don't make them twice. So here's the action step. What is the one new skill that you could master that would help you in your progress? Just pick one to start off with. Let's keep it really simple. And when will you begin that? Write those down. So I mentioned earlier that I'd give you some tips on balancing your work and your life and getting them in balance. Well, one of the tricks that I've used over the years is a thing called the Wheel of Life. And the Wheel of Life stems right back into Tibetan days, and their system was very complicated, and there's a lot of different variations on the market today, but the one that I like using is this one here because it's really simple. It just breaks your life into 8 areas, and you ask yourself a question, or you rate it. What's your level of satisfaction at the moment in terms of your career? Or your level of satisfaction on your finances? How's your health? Your family? And you move around each area from romance, your self-development, to your social life, to your home environment. And then you pick 3 of these areas that need a bit of work. And within those 3 areas, you come up with at least one thing that you could do differently or that you could implement in your life that would improve that area of your life. It's very, very simple. So for example, it was health, or maybe just going for a very short walk tomorrow might contribute to that part of your life. You see, because if you don't have balance in your life and you don't have your mindset correct, there is no chance of going forward to achieve your goals or to build a business unless things are in order. And believe me, I've worked with top executives who have just the main essence of just making money, and maybe it's a return on shareholders, but if they're working 14, 16, 18 hours a day just to earn money, there's another part of their life guaranteed has suffered. And it's usually their health comes first, the relationship usually falls apart, and there's many other areas. So please, just be very aware when we're talking about the mindset area of this, it's all about getting balance in your life. Okay, so there it is there. Mindset is clearly know your objectives. Try and build a business or out of your passion, learning to expand your thinking, and learning to take on new learning and be open to new learning. So that's the section on mindset. Okay, so what are your thoughts so far? Are you starting to understand why the mindset part of the system is so important? You see, it's directly related to your overall success. And to be honest, most people don't spend enough time, usually because it's the hardest. You know, to gain clarity and purpose in life takes time. So don't rush it. Please, if you take one piece of advice, don't rush this first part of the system. Now we're about to move on to the next, which is mechanics. And whilst it might seem overwhelming with information, I promise we're going to keep it very, very simple. So we'll return to the computer screen and let's move forward. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next section called mechanics. And finally, I know some of the personalities out there saying, oh, please just give me the facts, you know, just tell me what it's all about. Give me the how-to information. Yeah, I know, we've already spoken about this, but the reality is, unless you know what information you need, might determine where you're going to find that information and how to actually get it. You know, I know we're very quick to jump onto to Google and search for the information, but other search engines like YouTube are becoming extremely popular now. So it really depends on the type of information you're looking for. Maybe government agencies or online groups, industry groups, even courses and learning. No matter what it is in business that you're trying to find, there'll be information out there, because the trick is to go to the right source to get the right information. Some of the other considerations is maybe face-to-face meetings with people to find out information you need. It might be like to do with marketing. You might engage a consultant, or video, or just phone a friend. Consider, is the information structured or broad? You might be researching the trends of an industry. That might be a very broad type of information. Or you might require specific information on a specific topic. Later on, we might talk about a business plan and how that walks through step-by-step instructions. And in that case, you would need specific information at each step of the business plan as you went through. So the action point here is decide what type of information that you require and list all the possible sources first to obtain it. And that way you keep it's very structured then on the way that you actually gain the how-to information, and you can file it a lot easier as well. So G stands for get the how-to information. All right, now moving on to evaluating whether a business idea might be good or might work, we have well, obviously you can do your preliminary research, but even before you get to doing research, I like to work through a very, very quick checklist here. So here's an exercise for you. If you're still taking notes, get a blank piece of paper ready. And if you've already got a preconceived idea on maybe what type of business you're going to build or a business idea, I'm going to ask you 12 questions. And we're going to simply tick or cross or yes or no fairly quickly as we move through. And we'll see if we can get at least 10 out of 12. Okay, we're ready? Does your proposed idea solve a problem or deliver a benefit? Yes or no? Am I passionate about this idea? Now, not me, you. Are you passionate about this idea? Are others successfully doing something very similar? Can I create a competitive edge? Do you think you could do something a little bit different to your competitors? Does it have a high likelihood of success? Yes or no? Does it help me achieve my goals and purpose in life? Is there an obvious market for this idea? Are my skills and personality well suited? Are there mentors in this industry that can help me? Do I have access to sufficient funds for this idea? Is there an upside potential worth the effort involved? And the last one, can I see where the money will be generated from? So there we go. That's 12 very simple yes/no questions just to evaluate an idea. I hope you get at least 10 out of the 12. You know, there are some things, you're not going to base your whole future career or your whole future business development on this one checklist. I understand that. But it gives you at least a quick acid test whether or not it's worth spending time on going further into market research, both preliminary and a full market research. A stands for ask questions. In fact, better than that, learn to ask better questions. And more importantly, know why you're actually asking. You see, so many people ask yes/no questions. Now that might work great if you're a detective, but if you're trying to seek information on building a business, you need to be asking open-ended questions that encourage a meaningful answer. And of course, after you ask the question, learn to listen. Be attentive, and especially attentive to what is not being said. You see, some of the best ideas for businesses come out of just listening to people and looking at ways of solving their problems. If you find somebody complaining about something, that's possibly a good opportunity for a business, because you can find a solution to that, whatever it is the person's complaining about. You may not have a solution, but somebody else might have, and that might form the basis of a business. R stands for research. Simply, if you have a passion or a hobby, go and research how others are currently achieving success or making money from the same passion or hobby that you've got. Research what trends there are in the marketplace and what's happening overseas. There's some great ideas happening internationally that may not be happening here in Australia. Research primary and secondary markets for your intended products. Now what we mean by that is that there might be you might have product or service and you might have that the primary market, but there might be other products and services related to that that could be equally as profitable. And of course one of the tests is the 4 C's of market research: customers, consumer behaviour, costs and competition. If you develop a business plan, we would expand that out. Customers, you're looking at where do they live, what are some of the behaviour traits, what are some of the costs involved in setting up the business, what's your competition, go and mystery shop your competition. There's a fair bit of research you can do that will give you a fair indication as to, a clear indication anyway, of what your business is going to be looking like. S stands for get started now. Just get started, please. I recently had a lady telephone me and she said, "David, will you give me a hand to get started in business?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Just a matter of interest, how did you have my business card?" She said, "I took that off you at one of the conventions that you were at 3 years ago, and it's taken me 3 years to be in a position now to get started." And I said, "Well, sure, let's meet up." But I thought afterwards, what a shame. If she had just got started and I had helped her 3 years ago, then maybe she'd be that much further ahead than what she is now. So please, get started now. When you do start, we talk about an exit strategy and having a vision for what the business might look like in 12 months' time. Now, I don't mean that every business is going to be built just for the purpose of selling it. But if you did have a look at how you would maybe exit the strategy, maybe take on a partner or systemize the business, it would have some impact on how you actually got started in the first place. It might influence your accounting, your chart of accounts, or some of your marketing, or even your business structure. Plan your first 3 months. What steps are needed to commence your business? And then set benchmarks that are going to measure your progress as you go through. But the most important thing of all is keep it simple. Just tiny, simple steps. You might look at first impressions. That's always a great place to start. That might include your business name or a tag or a slogan or your branding, colours. But just keep it simple, tiny little steps that you can do to get started. Because once you start the first, momentum will follow, you see. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm too busy to get started." No, you're not. Just allocate a little, I don't care if it's just 1 or 2 hours on a weekend. Something is better than nothing at all. So your action step on this one is take the first steps and then momentum will follow from there. So that's an overview of mechanics. Get the how-to information, evaluate some of the things that whether your business might stack up or not. Ask sensible questions to get the right information. Do some market research. And most important of all, just get started. Okay, so that completes this module here of mechanics. Wow, that was a lot of information we just covered. And I could see how easy it would be for someone to get overwhelmed taking on board so much information. But let me give you a tip. Let's keep it simple. You don't need to learn all this at once. As you go through your journey step by step, just trust that the information is already out there and you can go and get it whenever you need it at that point in time. So have a clear mind. Now we're about to move on to mentors, which is extremely exciting. So I hope you're still taking notes. What we'll do, we'll return to the computer screen and we'll move on from here. Moving on. Okay, now here's the best part of the whole system itself, and it's the mentors. These are the people that are going to help you move forward faster than you would trying to struggle by yourself. Mentors are priceless. They are really, really valuable. You can work with any, some of them are women, men, you can use young mentors, older mentors perhaps like myself, even mentor organizations. If you connect with these types of people, they will move you forward. Now, typically, when I mentor somebody in a business situation, I normally go through a 4-step plan. And the first thing I look at is a situation analysis. And what we're looking for there is just the current resources we've got to work with. It might be financial, it might be hardware, like computers, it might even be resources like skills. You know, can you use a computer? But we have a look at the situation first. The next step we move on to then is setting up time frames and purpose and objectives and what the goal is that we're trying to achieve. You see, a mentor needs to know that, otherwise he can't actually help you, or she can't even help you, because we've got to have a goal to aim towards. Now, the third part that's typical in most mentor programs is an action plan. And your mentor will work with you and put an action plan in place of small steps to take to achieve your goals. Now, personally, I tend to go on a month-to-month basis, and I'll be harsh. I'll be honest, I'm very harsh when I'm mentoring people. If they tell me they're going to do something, it's up to them to do it. And so I come to the end of the month and say, well, come on, you told me that you said you were going to achieve that. What happened? But it's these small action steps that together make up the plan. And of course, review, set some benchmarks and accountability. There's another thing called an accountability buddy. Even if you haven't connected with a mentor yet, have somebody that's close to you that'll act as a buddy and make you accountable for your actions. And of course, gratitude. Yes. It goes back to old-fashioned manners. Having gratitude for the time that the mentor, that he or she spends with you, and value that time. Show some gratitude. And in fact, as an action step, I like to tell people to start each day reviewing your goals and start each day with an attitude of gratitude. So that's what the G stands for. It stands for the goals. The U stands for understand your roles, okay? Now, the mentor will not do the work for you. I'm sorry. This is your business. This is your goals. Their job role is to inspire, educate, and encourage you to achieve your success, but not do it for you. Okay? They guide you. They guide you on a path of self-discovery so that you become self-reliant on your own skills and you develop your own personal skills. And remember, try and choose either one or several different mentors that are relevant to your journey and in different areas of your life that's going to help you. So another action point there on understanding the roles is consider what areas would benefit the most by connecting with a mentor. You know, as I mentioned before, I work with several mentors myself in different parts of my life, but they have different roles that they can help me with. They have different skill sets. So make a list of a couple of different areas there where a mentor would help you the most. Now, the I stands for implement. The real learning is in the doing. We know that. Implementing the advice that's given, and you learn from that experience. And of course, as we mentioned, when you do more, you gain more experience and more confidence, and you're more willing to try again. It's just getting through that first bit of anything new. It's really difficult. Most people give up. But if you start something new and persist with it, the more you do it, the more confidence you'll get to do it again. And you're more confident. And you go through this, what they call the infinity loop, and just do it. Now, when you're implementing marketing strategies, start small. And I say this carefully because when you get into the marketing, you can, particularly on advertising, you can waste a lot of money very quickly, and there's no need to. It's possible to set up some marketing strategies where you can get some what they call metrics, the effectiveness of the campaign. For example, if you're doing online marketing and you set up a Google AdWords campaign, you'd probably only need $40 or $50 for a campaign to start getting how many people saw your ad, how many people clicked on your advertisement, how many people maybe came through and made an inquiry or something like that. all these things are called metrics and they're measurable. But the outcome here is to just learn not to throw a lot of money at things, particularly on the marketing. When you're implementing it, just small things first. And that goes for some of the action steps as well. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate anything. There's no need to. And the action point here, CTS. Remember? Make a commitment to self to implement the mentor's advice with trust. I know, D for dedicated. We all suffer from procrastination sometime. I get that. But you don't have to. And it's not necessarily bad. But if you're aware of it, then perhaps you won't do it quite as much. But be dedicated to your journey. And the most important thing, if you pay attention to consistency, you see, even highly successful people procrastinate sometimes. But the reason they're always moving forward is they've taken notice to the small things with consistency, and they do this daily routine of just small steps that add up towards the journey that they're heading. So pay attention to the detail and be dedicated towards doing smaller things, but doing them right. And for goodness sake, stay away from negative influences. You can get onto time blockers and things like time management and that, or anything negative. Just try and stay in a positive surround. I know that's really hard to do sometimes, particularly with the media and particularly some friends. You know, if friends are not supporting you, gee, try and just move away a little bit or get some new ones, or just try and stay in a positive attitude. If you're not in a positive attitude, in a positive area, then it's going to be that much harder. So the action point on dedicated is to do a time management analysis. Have a look at how you spend your day and look at ways of you can improve, or even go and study time management. It's not very hard and it won't take you very long, but you can just look at some areas there that you can improve and squeeze a bit more time. Because I know we're very, very busy, but the busyness contributing to your direction? Because perhaps there's not. And then you really need to have a look at what areas. Could I just squeeze maybe just 2 or 3 hours on a weekend to dedicate towards my business or towards my goals? And if you're motivated enough, you'll find that small amount of time that'll get you there. We are all busy people, but we can do it. E, educable. That's it. Look it up in the dictionary. I'm sure everyone says that should be educatable. No, it's educable. But you do know the meaning of it. It means you must be teachable. Have an attitude of being able to take on new learning. Be a humble student. If you're working with a mentor, they want you to, they're there to help you. And if you have that attitude of saying, I know that, you know, it's hard for them to be inspired to help you. So be very open. Have this attitude of learning. Say, here I am, I'm a humble student, please, what do I need to do to move on from where I am? Because common sense is not common practice. And if you find yourself saying, you know, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that, I've heard that before, that's not new. If you hear yourself saying that, that's the time to stop and take a check. Are you actually putting those ideas into practice? Because you know what? Most people don't. Common sense is not common practice. And yet it's a culmination of all the small things that add up that make a real difference in your life. So please, common sense is not common practice. Pay attention to the detail and implement them. The last one, develop support. You've been guided by the mentors, but you will need support in your journey. And in fact, you'll need it in 3 areas. You'll need emotional support, you'll need knowledge support, and you'll need family, friends, and social support in those 3 areas. Now, usually the emotional support, usually it comes from a partner or a spouse or someone very, very close to you. The knowledge-based support, your mentor can point you in the right direction, where to go to get that knowledge. Or it might be he or she themselves, or the mentor might actually have the knowledge. But you'll need to know where to connect to get to knowledge base, the how-to information. And family, friends and social, please don't do it alone. And especially if you're a sole trader on a business, it can be a very lonely journey. A home-based business suffers often by just a lonely journey. So connect with some friends and family, join some social clubs or networking clubs that's going to support you. But please, find support in those three areas: emotional support, knowledge-based support, family, friends and social. And why not develop your own support team? So sack some friends if they're not supporting you. Go find some new ones. Action step, purposely develop a support team. And I mean purposely. So write those three areas down: emotional, knowledge, social. And then come back to it a little bit later and consider, well, how can you develop that in those three areas? What do you need to do? So mentors, be guided. Goals, understand your roles, implement the advice, be dedicated to your journey, be educable, and develop a support team. That's the acronym of being guided by mentors. You connect with a mentor, they will fast track your progress. You have a look at every highly successful people in the world, and they always have a mentor behind them. You know, even Bill Gates, he openly admits that he has a mentor, Warren Buffett, who happens to trade shares. He's one of the most successful living traders at the moment. And a journalist once asked him, Bill Gates, would you have been successful if you did not have had a mentor? And he said, well, I've actually had 3 mentors in my life, but you're right, I probably would still have been successful, but it might have taken me an extra 10 years or longer. And the journalist who was interviewing him, they said, well, how much was that worth to you? And he said, a lot of money. So mentors fast track your progress. Please don't underestimate how valuable they are. They're fantastic. Okay, so that wraps up that module. So we should be able to move on from here. Aren't mentors priceless? Yes, they fast track your success. And you can work with men, women, young mentors, older mentors, or even mentor organizations. If you can connect with a mentor, they are valuable and they move you forward very, very quickly. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a look at some learning outcomes of this webinar so far. So let's get back to the screen. Okay, so that's an outline of the whole system of success. Mindset, mechanics, mentors. Open, have the gears, and be guided. I know that's a lot of information, but like all good presentations, there's always a take-home learning outcome, and hopefully you've taken lots and lots of notes. But if you want to condense these 3 areas down into just the last points on your notes, have a look at this. On the mindset, if you did nothing more, then what do you really want to achieve? Now, it's such a simple question, and yet it can take you so long to answer. What is it exactly you want to achieve? Why is it important to you? And as we mentioned earlier, the why it's important is the motivation, the self-motivation and the energy drive you'll get to drive forward. So what is it you really want to achieve? Picture your best lifestyle, picture the business or the goal, and write it down in absolute clarity. The mechanics, again, don't get bogged down in this part here, because really it is just the how-to information. But in summary, if you were clear on the direction you wanted to head and what it was you wanted to achieve, then it wouldn't be too hard to make a short list of what do you need to learn to achieve your goals. Now we're just talking broad brush sort of ideas here, but what do you actually need to learn to achieve those goals? Just in a couple of points. And we mentioned with the mentors, the emotional support, the knowledge support and the social support. What areas would connecting with a mentor help you the most? and try and picture an idea of, you might already be connected with a mentor. That's fantastic, but you may need one or two more in other parts of your life, or connecting with other people that's going to help you in other parts of your life. But mindset, mechanics, mentors, that's the system, and we know that it works. Have an open mindset, get the how-to information, connect with mentors to fast track your success. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. So there we have it. SOS, System of Success, Mindset, Mechanics, Mentors. And this is actually featured in my book, Success Leaves a Trail. Now during the webinar, we've had a couple of questions come in, so we'll just see whether we've got enough time to answer a few of them. And the first one here is, not sure when to start my business because I'm studying and working part-time. Well, the short answer there is now. Get started now. Please, if you're working part-time, you're earning some money that'll give you the time to develop your business as you're studying. So please do not delay. Get started now. You might be able to do some research or perhaps register a business name, but whatever it is, don't delay. You can work parallel with whatever you're doing. Okay, the next question is, don't have confidence to get started because I'm a single mum, very busy and not much support. Okay, look, there's almost 3 questions in there, isn't there? Confidence, busy and support. Now the confidence we've already spoken about. That's that confidence-competence loop before, of doing more gains more confidence, or having a look at other confident people. The busy, go and study some time management skills. That's easy. We can find somehow to squeeze in a little bit of time each day to start working on your business. The support, well, we've covered that before. You need support in 3 areas. And if you have to sack some friends, go ahead and do that. But try and get some friends around you or some family, join some associations, anywhere at all that will give you the support in those areas that you need to move on with your business. Okay, so it does look like we're out of time. But again, I thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar. And I thank TrainSmart for having me. It's absolutely a pleasure and a delight to be associated with them. Believe in yourself, take action, and the world will respond. Because guess what? Success does leave a trail. So thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to sharing with you again on the next one.